Yeah, I'm Brandon Padier. My band is Brandon Padier in Black Gold.
And you're putting out an album?
Yeah, it's a new record called Kintsugi, out December 15th, if it's not out already.
How many albums do you already have?
So I have 3 out already. Those have all been solo records. This is the 4th one I've put out, but the first one with Black Gold.
Where did you record this album?
We tracked this one all at Studio E with Brant Sankey here in San Antonio.
What formats are you putting this album in?
Digital, everywhere you find digital records. We're putting out on CD as well as a vinyl release as well. It'll be the first record of mine that's getting a proper vinyl release. I'm very excited about that.
What's your musical history? When did you first start playing music?
So I started playing when I was about 8 or 9. I started playing piano. I started getting lessons because there was a period I would come home from school. I don't know what possessed me to do this, but I came home from school, I started digging around in this old toy box, and I found this like Fisher-Price toy piano. I remember it specifically because it was shaped like an elephant. It had like 5 or 6 keys on it. I remember every day after school, I'd grab it, I'd lay down in my room, and I would just start plunking out melodies on it, just really simple. And I did that enough that my mom was like, all right, let's get him some lessons. So I started taking lessons for piano, and then when I was 13, I found the guitar, and everything else fell in from there. No schooling would stop me from coming home and just sitting and playing and figuring out songs kind of by ear. And then all the other instruments that I played kind of came after that.
When did you start your first band?
I started my first band in high school with the drummer that's in Black Gold, Cameron Condre. We had a band called Good People. I'm not entirely sure why we named it that. I do believe it was a play on the Jack Johnson song Good People, where he references where have all the good people gone. And it was like a blues rock sort of band. We started writing songs for it, did a lot of blues and rock covers, but I was always interested in writing original material with that. And that started as a 4-piece band, expanded all the way to like a 9-piece band with some friends of mine that we were in band together. I had them play horns. Dropped all the way down to a trio, and then we all went to college, and that's when I started doing like solo stuff and writing for myself. This is the first band since I would guess I would consider myself like a professional musician or a gigging musician, and that Black Gold has been together for, in its current iteration, almost 2 years now. We've had a couple of members kind of cycle through, but the core 4 of us have been together for about 2 years.
And what are the members' names? What are they?
So there's myself, Brandon Padier, on guitar and vocals. On pedal steel and keyboards, Jordan Stern, as we call him, the Professor. On bass guitar is Griffin Young, and on drums is Cameron Condre. When kind of writing for this record, I had a couple of songs that were kind of already in the proverbial hopper of songs that I'm always writing and storing in the portion of my mind. I had a couple of them that I thought would be really good for this record, but the bulk of them, what was interesting and slightly different about writing for this record is, while we went in I had some ideas about how I thought the song could go or should go. I was very determined to not let my own editing process and my own creative process dominate the production. What I wanted is for us to make this as much a collaboration as possible. Like if I have an idea, I'll share it. If they have an idea, they'll share it. And to bring our different musical sensibilities and our shared talent together to really raise the level of this record. So it was, in a way, it was a lot more freeing for me to lean on them to kind of bring things to the table, and then us to kind of bounce ideas off, sometimes bump heads, and ultimately to craft and refine what I think is a really great record.
Is this your first time featuring people, like local fellow musicians on the record, other than the Black Hole?
Yeah. So on Years in the Wilderness, Cameron and Jordan both contributed some, but this was the first one where they were on entirely, as well as featuring two of my very close friends and brilliant musicians in their own right. Isa Payao sang background vocals on several of the tracks, and then Cooper Greenberg of Favorite Son played guitar on a few of them as well. Him and I would bounce leads off of each other and solo, and really got all of the big guitar energy out on a couple of the songs. So I was thrilled about it. I was thrilled to have both of them, and they came in and they were so willing to jump on, and were great with taking direction. But even with them, I was like I can tell you what I think you should do, but you do what you think you should do first, and then we'll go from there. Because I don't, while I have and had a vision for it, the ultimate goal was to bring as many creative minds to the process as possible, and let that kind of shine through.
Do you have a favorite song? I know they're all...
Yeah.
They're all your babies, but...
Of course. I have favorites for different reasons, but I think the one I keep coming back to is probably the closing track, In Spite of Yourself. I really love the way that song ended up. It's a very warm song. There's a lot of openness to it. It's one of two songs on the record where we did purely acoustic instruments. No electric instruments were used on it. Like Griffin played upright bass, and Jordan played an upright piano, and I played acoustic guitar. And I think there's an airiness to that song that really kind of separates itself from a lot of other things similar that I've written, but there's also a real concise lyrical style on it that I really appreciate. And Isa, who sings background vocals on it, sounds absolutely phenomenal.
You know, speaking of lyrics, how would you describe your lyrics?
When I write, I aim for as much of a universal look as possible, but I'm writing mostly from, or at least at some points, from personal experience, and we'll typically kind of expound on things that have happened to me, or make the lyrics fit a bit more into a frame of reference that wouldn't just be totally me-centric. I'm a type of writer that's very, very conscious of rhyme scheme and making sure that it remains really listenable and cuts, but isn't necessarily either overly simple or overly profound. Sort of like how Tom Petty did, where it would hit you on the surface, but as you kind of dig into that song and listen over and over, you'd find snippets or nuggets that when you think about them hit even deeper than on the onset of listening to it. At least that's my aim. I had that name kind of bouncing around my head for a while, because I'd always loved the concept of Kintsugi. Essentially taking something broken and reforging it with the gold or silver leaf inlay on the cracks, signifying like you're not only highlighting the brokenness of this thing, but you're also making it more beautiful and more valuable. And that was always really interesting to me, is people were always, as we go through life, we get beat up, we get our hearts broken, we get battered by the world, and that's unfortunately a part of life. But allowing yourself to take those things and reforge yourself and make yourself all the more beautiful, but not hiding those pieces of yourself and making them a part of who you are, and not being afraid to show that, and show that through the hardships that you've grown and you've become a more beautiful person, you've become stronger. But coming out on the other side and still being full of gratitude, and still being able to love and be loved, the people that are around you. And well, not even necessarily consciously aiming for that, I think that we hit it pretty spot on the mark as it pertains to the title, keeping the themes and just the writing in general nice and streamlined.
What do you think about your personal life, ministry? Maybe a full-time musician? Or...
Yeah, I've been doing music full time now. I would say 3 years. There's so many different sort of delineations in my head, but that's when I basically stopped doing anything else, I'll say, and kind of fully committed to the bit. And it's been a fun journey. It's not easy by any means, but what I told my parents and what I've told past relationships, and what I tell anyone who asks me about it, it's like I'd rather struggle a little bit doing something that I really love and that I truly believe I exist to do, if you want to get really ethereal about it, than work anywhere else and know that's not what I'm supposed to do and hate it all the more.